Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for weird news, spooky, and otherworldly and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow Creepin' It Real Show on Twitter at creepin_it. You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, creepinitrealshow.com. Without further ado, welcome to this week's episode.
On my phone.
How much drinking have you already done?
I literally just poured my first glass. I know.
I'm excited for this one.
Good, because we're recording right now.
Oh, my balls.
I decided to throw a fast one at you.
You're a fast one.
I'm so sly.
Is everything coming in solid on my mic? Is it too loud?
Nope, you sound wonderful.
As always.
I like it like this. I'm being criticized for my own recordings. Rick's putting a lamp light bulb on our new desk.
A what?
A light bulb in the lamp that's on our new desk.
Oh, then why are you being criticized? I don't get it.
Because he's criticizing the way I have my microphone.
Oh, shit, my microphone. How do I sound?
You sound like the old Moni.
Yeah, what the fuck? My husband. Hold on, I'm going to put you on mute because I'm going to yell down the stairs.
Okay. I have a new desk finally, but it's at the standing position because we don't have a chair. So I'm standing at the desk, and I will not be sitting. I'll be burning calories through the whole episode.
What, you burn calories for just standing still?
Yeah, you burn like an average if you stand, because I have a standing desk at work too. And I don't know what they did. Somebody, all these important people that do all these studies said that if you stand for 1 hour a day at your desk instead of sit, you burn lots of calories. And so, yeah, I'm drinking calories and burning calories at the same time.
Who the hell came up with that, though? I don't believe that.
It's the truth. It's science, Yardley. Science.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I need to find out. I have to read up on that.
I have a stand-up desk. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I believe at best, I believe if you lose some calories, it damn sure ain't a whole bunch.
No, it works out to like.
I'm gonna stand all the time anyway. I'll watch TV and stand.
Yeah, it really does. We have at my work we house like a huge amount of nutritionists and those people, the RDs, and we did this whole report and all this stuff, and they were like, everybody's getting a standing desk. And they were also trying to get us to do laps at work. And I'm like, slow it down, y'all. Standing desk's good enough for me. So I'm fine. I want it this way.
Okay.
I'm recording. Okay. Can I just go? Yeah. See how the little lines are going?
Believing it.
This works.
Well, they're they get in some serious shit if they lied, because they can't, because that would be, we're talking about their job is health and nutrition. So if they were lying and making shit up.
Is it literally in a kid's cup? That's amazing. My husband just brought me an alcoholic beverage that is milk and chocolate of some sort too.
Nice.
I'm sure there's Bailey's in there, maybe some Kahlua, I don't know, but he brought it in a kid's Disney cup. So it's just parent life, yo.
Oh, look, Google completed it for me. Standing desks burn calories. It adds up 50 calories an hour. If you stand for 3 hours a day for 5 days, that's around 750 calories burnt. That's from the BBC.
I guess I should stand at my standing desk more often. My staff can see me. See, when I have my regular desk, they can't see that I'm in my office, and then they talk shit and get caught. What?
Oh, snap. So anyway, people, creepers, we're actually recording. I just thought it'd be funny to record our chit chat before the show to kind of show the crazy, stupid shit we talk about before we try to get somewhat serious about what we're doing. But you have made it to the 10 download episode. We're not talking like a 10K. Nobody ran anything. But oh my God, I'm so sorry. My dog just laid on my foot and I didn't know she was in here. It scared the shit out of me.
It was a dark and stormy night.
Yeah.
Creatures were coming out from everywhere.
I had no idea. And she's black and it's really dark under the desk, so I couldn't see her. She laid on my foot.
This drink is deadly good. Sorry.
Good. Anyway, so yes, Yardley's head is going to explode before this episode ends. I can already tell. He's like not structured. He's the guy that keeps us all like structured, and we actually plan shit and stuff
the
now.
Professional.
Yeah. Well, because he's on like 80 podcasts, so he has like it down, and then he comes and joins this motley crew, and we're like Tweedledee and Tweedledum running around. So sorry.
It's not like that, but
Close enough.
It's all in good fun. It's a special day.
Yeah, so we just decided to throw caution to the wind and get crazy and do some different stuff. And so with that, do we want to start our weird news for this week?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm with it.
All right. So I'm not sure if just poop things in the news is becoming a thing now, or it's like that, what the laws of attraction, where I said one poop news and now all the poop news is attracted to me. But I saw on the news, and this was the title, so it made me laugh my ass off. This is it. The poop train's reign of terror in small town Alabama has ended. And now, Poop Train of Terror, just, why isn't that a show? Why isn't that a horror movie? Seriously, I'd watch it.
Train to Busan, Poop Train of Terror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, so there are actual trains of sewage from like larger populated cities, and they like ship them to small towns or to like environmental dumps like landfills. Well, one landfill got tired of receiving the shit, and so it denied passage. So
they're not taking your shit no more.
Yeah, they're not taking y'all shit up in the New York anymore. So they denied it. So then the person or the company that had this train just parked 250 tractor loads of poop, or it equals to about 10 million pounds, in a small town. And it just sat there for months, stinking. Like, these poor people. So...
Well, listen, I know that this is crazy. Look, I had heard of this before. I have to admit, I didn't read the article, but I read little blurbs on it, right? But I never just sat and read, a whole article. But what I'm wondering, isn't this a situation, I guess maybe if you were the mayor of this town, or you were whatever, and you knew that that's what they were doing, is this something that you would reveal to the public, though? Because I don't really think, because it wasn't something that they were smelling, right? Because it was in the tanker.
No, they were smelling it.
So it was coming through the tanker.
Yes. It's been baking in the hot sun. And it's like, it was, and there's like a neighborhood near this train track where they abandoned this poop. And it started to like leak and smell, and it was also near a youth baseball field. And so they're, yeah, they were playing baseball and smelling shit for like, and she said, Mayor Heather Hall said, it smells like death.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, okay, well, that's what I get for not reading it. But once you combine like Alabama and the heat and the humidity plus, yeah, I could totally see those things expanding and cracking.
Exactly. And 10 million pounds of shit. I mean, 10 million pounds of shit. That is disgusting. That puts our rogue mad poopers like to shame. I mean, serious shame.
First of all, I feel like it was a bad decision that I am eating chocolate chips while we're recording this and drinking chocolate drinks. It's a bit much. Yeah, I don't even know. You can't even set it on fire without that being way worse. Like you can't blow up the whole thing like some kind of action film.
Oh, yeah.
Bury it, but dig a really big hole, create a bunch of jobs, dig a really big hole, and sink the whole damn thing in there. That's what I say.
Well, I think the issue here is New York and New Jersey send the shit literally out of state because they have very strict zoning laws. So they send it to states with looser zoning laws. So clearly the state just needs to enact stricter shit laws of accepting people's shit, but that's hard to do when there's a dump, a nuclear or a waste dump in your state because they're being paid, their state's being paid to accept all kinds of different things, and poop apparently being one of them. So they're kind of stuck that they can't enact this law. I mean, maybe they can just, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there, because I'm sure the, whatever this place is that is supposed to take it and didn't, probably holds quite a bit of standings in the state as far as, I'm sure they make a shit ton of money. Yeah, I went there.
Pun intended.
So I don't know, but when I saw Poop Train's reign of terror has ended, I was like, oh, this is something worth reading.
Well, I think that totally qualifies as weird news, but I have something that actually just might make people cringe as hard as your story. So after years of having a runny nose, a woman finds it's not allergies, it's brain fluid. Okay. Out in Omaha, Nebraska, a woman named Kendra Jackson had a constant runny nose for years. In her own words, continuously, it felt like a waterfall that would run to the back of my throat. Kendra was diagnosed with cerebrospinal fluid leak, as in a brain fluid that had been leaking through a hole in her skull into her nose all day, every day for 3 years.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, because she went to an ear, nose, and throat specialist, and they kind of figured out what was going on. There was basically a small hole between her skull and her nostrils. But luckily for Kendra, a Nebraska medicine rhinologist, her name is Christy Barnes, had figured out a way for a less invasive surgery alternative, which used some of Jackson's own fatty tissue to basically plug up the source of the leak, which was that hole. But just the fact that she described it as a waterfall running every day for 3 years, I can just only imagine her, hacking or blowing her nose or just basically swallowing it. I mean, think about how much brain fluid she was actually, consuming in her stomach. That is insane. I would cringe. I don't know. I just don't even think that feeling would ever go away. What do y'all think about that?
I got to get on my soapbox for a second. And this is, I want to be funny, but about women's health care, because I have several friends who have had several different issues, who have gone to multiple doctors over the course of years. And for whatever reason, and I don't hear it a lot with men, and I'm totally generalizing and being unfair. Maybe it's because men don't go to the doctor. That's another stereotype. But I've heard this before where, she's had constant runny nose for years. I've read other articles about this specific case, and it's like she tried to tell her doctors and they all just kept telling her it's allergies. And, I have a friend who ended up having lupus after going to 7 different doctors over like an 11-year span. And now she's in the organ failure phase because of not being listened to. Like, seriously, like healthcare, doctors, fucking listen to people when they tell you that something isn't right. People know, they may not be doctors, but we know when something's wrong with our bodies. But also, my husband was the one that brought this story to my attention, and I have massive allergies. And so this whole week he's been telling me that I have fluid coming out of my brain. I'm like, you're so helpful, honey. That doesn't freak me. And, if you Google it, of course, it's always cancer. So I'm like, thank you. I have someone at home telling me it's brain fluid, and I have Google telling me it's cancer. It's fucking allergies, people. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. For the first time, Yardley, I've been in Georgia since 2003, and I have never been affected with allergies until this year. And holy shit, like, it's kicking my ass. I mean, I have never. I'm now on medication every day, which I never have ever had to do that. And I am not gonna lie. When I read that article, I was like, I have a constant drip. Of course it's allergies, but it does freak the shit out of you when you read something like that. And as you're sniffing and coughing and going, constantly just feels like a waterfall down the back of your throat.
Yeah. Well, speaking of waterfalls, at least for the next, actually the rest of this week and all of next week, so we'll say a good solid 2 weeks. We're getting rain every day, so hopefully it'll wash away that pollen. The downside is it's raining for 2 weeks,
and then that means it's going to start the whole fucking cycle again. I hope not, but you just never know.
Summer will come and save you. That's what I have to say.
Moni, never.
Summers don't save in Georgia.
No. Then you bake to death. You suffocate in the humidity.
Oh, yeah, because they're kind of wet too, huh?
It's like 90% humidity. Yeah, and so you never want to leave your house after 10 a.m. ever. Yep. Like the sun rises to its full extent and you feel like you're baking when you walk outside. Yeah. Good times in Georgia.
Hey, before I dive into another poop story, I want to hear about the shadow people thing.
Oh, yes. Okay. So Yardley, for the listeners who haven't listened to one of our shows we did.
First of all, what's your problem? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, then you're a fucking
catch
loser.
Up, people. Stop right now and catch up.
Yardley chose one of our topics one week about sleep paralysis. And I accidentally got tuned into the Hat Man actually from hearing one of our listeners' stories, which I didn't put in the notes to talk about because I didn't know how many we would need. And then it got me interested in Hat Man because it sounded like the men that Yardley described when he was experiencing sleep paralysis. So then I went in and started looking up Hat Man, and like half of the Hat Man stories are people experiencing sleep paralysis and seeing the Hat Men. And they're either wearing like fedoras or top hats, which Yardley, you said yours were wearing top hats, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There was some old lanky. It was just crazy. It was lanky. And remember, I was saying that at that time, I had this window. It was by my bed.
Yeah.
And there were all these trees outside. So like in my head, I was trying to make an excuse. I'm saying, it was, it was probably the shadows, but it was clearly like a guy in a top hat, like, going across the wall. It's
yes.
crazy.
And and they're saying he either wears a trench coat or a cape. And I didn't know if you could tell what yours was wearing. And he appears at around average 6 feet tall. And and they always also say like old fashioned clothing, like whatever he's wearing seems to be completely out of our our era. And if you're interested, there's actually, I have never heard of Hat Man until the story. And I'm like, he said he saw the Hat Man. And I'm like, what the hell is the Hat Man? Like, never heard that before. So while I was in that moment, I decided to Google it, and there's tons of stories about Hat Man. And when I saw the sleep paralysis thing, I was like, holy shit, that's what Yardley described at that episode. And so I was really intrigued by it. And if you're ever interested, Yardley, you should totally look up Hat Man. You can go into Reddit, and there's just hundreds of stories about Hat Man. People talking about how they saw Hat Man. And then also on tons of websites, they're talking about Hat Man. So interesting. That was kind of gave me a few chills after reading the description.
Well, you know what? Hopefully wherever Hat Man is, he's somewhere thinking about me, because I might have scared the shit out of him at some point. But,
there you go.
But hey, Moni, you have anything for weird news?
More poop stories. Yay.
Yes. And actually, it's funny because that would have been a good segue into the first story that we're telling today. But first, though, I do just have to pop in some more poop. If you two, not to put you on blast, haven't seen the video, the link is here. It's 40 seconds. Go watch it while I'm talking. We all know I can talk for 40 seconds because it's the best and worst thing that you'll see today. Thank you, Internet.
Oh, goody.
So pooping on the floor and flinging it at the counter staff probably won't get you your donuts any faster. Probably. Now, this is my worst nightmare because this starts with an irate woman and ends with her still yelling and screaming at staff at a donut store in a small town, Tim Hortons. I've never heard of it, but and she just pops a squat, pulls down her pants, pops a squat, poops, and flings it at the staff that probably is just doing their jobs in a reasonable manner up until she walked in. So I have been to the zoo. I've seen many poosling and monkeys. This is next level. And also, as someone who owned a restaurant for a hot minute, I cannot imagine the health code violations once she smeared her shit all over the place. But yes, she was arrested.
What the hell is wrong with this lady?
Hey, listen, I'm all about active participation.
Oh my God!
I was trying to
No! I need to post this, I think.
No!
But, yeah.
No!
So all I have to say is the opioid crisis that they talk about, the drug crisis in America is a real thing, and I see it every day. And I really think that's all that can explain this type of behavior. Is meth is a hell of a drug, and kids, this is why you don't do it. So.
Okay, I see it now. Now the video is playing, and
it's insane. And this is Canada.
You can even fast forward past the yelling part and just watch what happens in the last 10 seconds.
Well, I mean, but I just can't.
No, I know, right? And I tell you what, I get angry people up in my face literally every single day, and they're usually often on drugs, and I could totally see this happening at the library, and it just makes me want to dig that hole that I was talking about for the poop, but instead of putting the poop in, put myself in and bury myself.
Oh gosh! But it was locked and loaded. Like, what if it wouldn't have been sopped? You know what I mean? Like, geez.
I don't know. Maybe she was like the whole time she was yelling, she's like trying to push it out.
Turtle.
Yeah. The first, what I thought about was that sub at Firehouse Subs, the New York Steamer.
Oh yeah. That's one of my favorites.
She gave him a New York Steamer.
Well, that's okay, not to get really gross, but in my defense, I didn't know about this term until I hooked up and I'm now with a guy from fraternity and is still to this day friends with all his fraternity brothers. There are terms out there that I did not know existed, and Cleveland steamer is one of them. So when you say steamer, that I immediately think of, and that's where you poop on a girl's chest and then like have sex with her boobs. So you're like having sex with the boobs and the poop at the same time. That is a saying, and people talk about it. So clearly we're missing some sort of weird poop train, the poop train of terror. And people are pooping when they're mad, when they're horny, when whatever. They just poop. Whatever. I just don't know about this world anymore.
Everybody poops.
I guess so.
And they're going to amend that for 2018 for everybody poops in public.
Well, I mean, where do you think the phrase "I'm going to fuck the shit out of you" comes from?
I guess so. Two girls, one cup. Two girls, one cup. That's all I gotta say.
The third really bad sex term that I've learned this week, and pun intended, I can't get behind this one.
You know what? I'm wrong. That's not the Cleveland steamer. That's the chili dog. The Cleveland steamer is when you're done having sex with her, you poop on her. Sorry, and you just leave it and walk out like bye, and you leave her with a big giant crap on her. I get them mixed up. Chili dog. Get it? Chili dog? The chili dog? Okay, nope. Yeah. Because the buns are her boobs and the penis is the hot dog and then the poop is the chest on anyway.
Hey, so pull up and pull out, everybody.
Excuse my messing up the terms. I don't want any armchair pooper critics out there going, excuse me, that's not the Cleveland steamer. That's the chili dog.
Shit, keep it to yourself. Don't fling it at us, okay?
Literally, please.
Because we're judging you hard for knowing. So just shh.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, you know what? Why don't we just go ahead? It's a celebration. We also have to celebrate the people. Yeah, we also have to celebrate the people who tune in and and listen to us rant every week. So why don't we go ahead and start up on the story some of our listeners submitted.
All right.
So this is actually from a colleague of mine, and we're going to call him Sergeant, but he actually, now it's a little bit disjointed. I had to take it from handwritten stuff that he had done for his journal, so I had a hard time putting some of it together. And of course, he's, been documenting all of this. And so it's a little out of context, a little disjointed. Some of it he's been documenting in the middle of the night as things are happening. So it's really interesting, but he wanted to remain anonymous. However, he's told me other stories that are actually even spookier than this, but his hope, his intention with sharing this story, and he is a listener as well, is that maybe somebody else who's listening might have some idea of what's going on, or even better, like a way to kind of help, because one of the spirits in here that you'll see has kind of been bothering him. So he thinks this is where it started. We're calling it the story of Sargent, and this is in his words. I've always been sensitive to spirits, and as a child, I would feel the presence of entities and most times avoid their interaction. To be fair, most things as a child were bad and could easily be noticed by the horrid smell. I would come home, smell a bad odor, and go back outside and spend the day in the woods or the cornfields. This was not always the case when I woke up in the middle of the night and felt many presences in my room. I always avoided eye contact. Fast forward to adulthood, while on a military patrol, I saw a white, mist-like face staring at me through the tall weeds. I initially thought my friends were up to no good, so it came as a surprise when I confronted the others about what I saw. They all gave me blank stares. I insisted we investigate the area in case someone was there, but after 15 minutes we found nothing. As we left, I smelled the aroma of flowers. Fast forward another year. I'm on duty in a secured building, alone and all locked up. I hear a faint female Asian voice say, "Sergeant." I begin to search the building again, thinking someone got locked in. After about an hour of searching, I walked past the locked door, and after I passed it, I heard it close. I had to use a key to open the room, which was small, and no one was inside, so I reset the code and locked it again. And now the rest of the stories are illustrated, and I think we have permission to post the illustrations with his words attached to them.
Okay.
But I'm going to try to do justice to some of this verbally. So he actually has dates and times of September 21st, 2017, 23:45 was the time. Sergeant's wife was a witness. Late at night, behind his head, he heard a really loud pop, accompanied by a super bright light that basically filled up the whole room. And you'll see in the illustration, it's almost like someone lit, like a little explosion kind of happened in the middle of the room. And he and his wife were both witness to this. Then on October 28th of 2017, about 2 a.m., he was reading, and so he was wearing a headlamp, and it was stopped working. So he turned on the light and saw a woman in a green dress with brown hair look at him. And then I think that he wrote disappeared after that. I couldn't tell, but I have always been followed by the supernatural, but today she caught me by surprise. Although she looked like she'd been waiting for me all day, and I don't mind, just don't get upset, please, as in he doesn't want them to be mean, the spirits that he sees. The woman had a green dress, extremely pale skin, brown hair, and was not Asian. I think she was someone different, but the scent of rose water is always a sign. And so flashing forward to November 2nd, 2017, almost at 3 a.m., I woke up to an enormous howl and the sudden image of a golden seal or a plate. I fell asleep again and was awoken by the same thing, a fish head seal in the darkness. I fell asleep a third time again and heard basically a ceremonious howl. The silver fish had a sword through it this time. It was all weird and like a ceremony. The moon was full and the night looked like day. I really had trouble sleeping all night before that. I always get fucked up dreams right before things happen. Also, they happen when I'm alone more often than not. And then on November 27th, 2017, someone was just yelling, "Cat, cat, cat, cat," really, really loud. His wife heard it, and she's heard the spirits that live in the house and now understands about the woman that I saw in the living room. So, yeah.
And wow. That's a friend of yours?
Yes. Yeah.
And also the fact that, you've got someone to co-sign that you're not tripping. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that makes it a little bit more.
It's crazy because reading his story, and not at all to make this in any way about me, but I really, really related to his story. Not with the spirit that seems, the spirits that seem to be kind of attracted to him, but when he was a child, just really, I was like, God, I feel for you. I remember, when I was a kid, I saw stuff that my parents would get mad at me because I was so scared. I would see hands coming out of the walls, shadows, like people walking around my room. and red eyes in my closet, always staring at me, and they were blinking. It wasn't like it was playing tricks on me. I mean, these eyes were looking at me and blinking, and it got to the point where I was so scared of those eyes that I made my parents remove all the pictures out of my room that had faces on them, because I was scared that their eyes would turn red too. And my parents never believed me, never. And so it got to the point where I just stopped talking about it and kind of blocked it out. And then fast forward like him to when I became an adult, and things were happening to me that scared the shit out of me, because I never accepted what I saw as a child either. Like, it was always, I must be seeing things, or I must be lying, or made it up, or it was a dream. And I know very well it wasn't. Like, these are memories I have, and I know that I was awake, but you don't know what else to do but just to tell yourself that it must have been this or this, and you just know. And then waking up in the middle of the night, one night, my husband got up to go to the bathroom, and the bathroom door is by my door, so he has to get up on his side and walk around our bed to go into the bathroom. And I didn't say anything until he was finished, and then I was like, did you turn the light on? In which makes no sense, but I was just trying to make it out of my head. I saw a woman walking next to him on the way to the bathroom, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm seeing her, and she's in a dress. She's all white, and I don't say the dress is white. I think the whole thing, her whole body was white. Walking right next to him, like she was escorting him to the bathroom. And I'm like, I asked him if he turned the light on, because in my head, I'm like, maybe it was like a weird light thing, but there were no lights on. And then after that, my bedroom doorknob would start to turn by itself. And after I saw that white lady, I would not go into my bedroom by myself for a month. I was that freaked out, and then I just had to get over it. But like, I think this happens to you when you're a child, and then you kind of block it out, and you just can't turn it off. It will come back. There's just no way to turn this shit off. And so now he's dealing with this, and there's just nothing you can do except come to terms with it, or do what you can to try to block it out again and hope it just goes away. But it sounds like spirits are attracted to him.
Yeah, and the initial encounter, actually, if I'm not mistaken, happened in Okinawa. That's where he was stationed.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of why, the mention of the voice sounding like an Asian woman there.
Right.
And then sort of being surprised that whomever he's been seeing off and on now at his home appears to be, a Caucasian lady. But, also, I forgot what I was saying. He's a military guy, obviously. Right. He doesn't want anyone to think that he's crazy. And, he's nervous about this. He doesn't want to make anything any angrier than it already is,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I've had some recommendations about maybe firmly but nicely telling whatever it is that it's not welcome and to go away because he can't help it, and that kind of thing. So I don't know if those recommendations have been taken, but yeah, if anybody has any ideas on what could possibly be helpful, we're all ears, because there's been a lot going on. And part of the problem, part of it is too, this is super interesting. He brings home artifacts from all the places that he travels. Mm-hmm. So he has some really historical things that he's picked up around the world that have some cool backstories. And I kind of wonder if things are attached to some of those items as well.
I mean, it could be, but it seems like he's had this since he was a child. So it's like, yeah, there could be things tied to them, but mainly probably showing, my recommendation to him, which is what I get all the time, because trust me, I began experiencing some crazy shit the last 6 or 7 years that I've had to decide, am I going to embrace this, or am I going to just phase it out again like I always do? And at the time I was like, I'm going to embrace it. And then I've just phased it out again. I'm just like, I just don't have any, what am I going to, it just doesn't, it's not comfortable for me to do or to deal with. And so he can either embrace this and ask them what they want, and if he can help them, or he can somehow phase them out. in some way and put that filter back up that clearly has dropped. I don't know. I mean, that's the stuff that I've had, spiritual, you'd say counselors or therapists or teachers talk to me about. And they're like, well, so you've had this ability since you were a kid, and after being told and getting into trouble so many times as a child, you just blocked it out and went on your merry way. But as you get older, at times that filter drops again and things come back in, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So you can either like embrace it, and it's like a muscle, exercise it and you actually utilize it in some way, or you can just once again kind of block it out and it'll disperse it. But you're still going to experience things here and there. There's no way to turn that part off. Yeah. So he sees what he sees. There's really nothing you can do about that. And so he can either embrace it or just be prepared that every once in a while, this kind of shit's going to happen. And especially if he's if this people are tied to the house, then what are you going to do? You're going to have to freaking move. I don't know.
I think they're tied to him. Yeah. 'Cause he's moved around a lot. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with this. I only know my own personal experiences, and I know that I'll go years with nothing happening, and then just something happens, and like I said, I saw the white woman and the doorknob thing, that all happened within a year, and then it went away again, and then it comes back. It's just this weird thing, because I'm not sitting here going, oh, I'm gonna embrace this and do it and meditate and talk to these, I just kind of block it out, and it scares the shit out of me. It's just not in my brain, as much as I'm tied and love this love of horror and paranormal, not necessarily wanting it in my real life. I like the movies and I like the stories because they're not mine. I don't want this stuff happening to me, so I would rather not deal with it. But I don't know. And then the craziest part is when my daughter was little, she woke up crying because she saw red eyes in her closet. Ugh. And that scared me to death. And, and my husband was like, oh, Madeline, come on. And I'm like, listen. And I got really defensive. I'm like, if she says she saw red eyes, and I didn't say why I was so defensive, I was just like, then she saw red eyes. Like, I was like, very like, we're not calling her a liar, because what really happened might not be what she says, but what she says she saw, and we're going to take that as, she's not going to lie. And then she had a dream that my parents' house burned down, and walked out of her bedroom, or caught on fire, walked out of her bedroom crying, Grandma and Grandpa's house, I had a dream it caught on fire. And I was like, oh, it's fine. 3:00 in the morning that night, I got a call from my parents that their house caught on fire. They were undergoing a remodel and got a new roof, and the roof was too hot. And this is New Mexico, so shit gets hot. And it just simmered, and the house caught on fire. So there's something there, I mean, I think everybody has something. Everybody. And we just, through the years, through the generations, have just been conditioned to filter that shit out, because we just don't believe it anymore. We'll believe the Bible, and we'll believe miracles, and we'll believe angels appeared to these people. But if you talk about it now, people are like, oh, you're so full of shit. But let me tell you about ancient biblical times when all this shit happened. It's like, really? Like, you believe that, but you don't want to believe this could actually happen in like real day? I just find that very strange. And I am very much a believer of God and the Bible, but I believe what happened then can happen now, when we've just kind of turned our backs to it.
Well, you know what? I believe we need to give Sergeant props for submitting that story.
Thank you.
We definitely appreciate that. Now, Christy, can you kind of dive into what is it? Theater horror at Theater Horror? Am I
so this is
correctly?
A guy that's super supportive of our Twitter. He's based in the UK, and it's so funny because when I tell this story, you'll know immediately that he's English because of the way he's telling it. But he has a horror website that he does, and when I put the call out there that, hey, we're taking some personal stories, he was the first one to submit, and he's a super nice guy. And this one isn't, like that, but it's an interesting thing, I think, that sticks with you, and is probably why he does what he does today. So it says, he literally spells all this out. I love it. It was the year 2000 and odd. I can't remember when. My wife and I were enjoying the sights and sounds of the world famous Edinburgh Festival, which is Scotland, right? Yeah. I'm not really sure how famous it is, and I'm not really sure how much I was enjoying it, but the sun was out and my spirits were high. My beautiful wife had an audition in an ugly part of town. Being the gentleman that I am, I stayed in the nice city center and let her get on with it. Whilst walking the streets, frowning at the numerous street artists, I stumbled across what can only be described as a massive goth. A man of great stature, dressed in black, presiding over a sign about the, okay, I am going to butcher this, Al-Riki Tour, the most haunted place in Britain. Being the ardent skeptic that I am and having a few hours to spare, I signed up. Unknowingly to me, a man in a similar position as me, bored and lonely, also joined the group. He becomes important later. For those who don't know, the Al-Riki is a tour of some medieval underground vaults which were only discovered in the 1960s. These vaults held the poor and homeless of the city at night whilst the city gates were locked. Unfortunately for these medieval folk, there was a fire in the vaults and they all got burnt to death and their bodies melted together. Ugh. Upon discovery of the vaults, they also found lots of witchcraft paraphernalia. Since then, there have been countless sightings and incidents with photographic evidence to back it up. My paranormal experience happened in these very vaults. It was the final stage of the tour. We were in the last vault, all of which are brick-lined rooms with a dome roof, a bit like a fancy wine cellar. It was dark, very dark, and it was cold and damp. The smell of hundreds of years of misery and pain hung in the air, coupled with mold and a particularly strong aftershave emanating from a porcelain man of seemingly ill repute. Not porcelain like the toilet. What does that mean? Porcelain? We're not as fancy educated as you, clearly, because I don't know what that is. The guide explained what they found in the vault and all the ghostly happenings thereafter. The group then began to leave the vault. I and the other lonely man were at the back of the queue. Just as we were about to leave the vault, an ice-cold chill descended over my shoulders. A feeling of unease, panic, and agitation followed. My breath was held, my eyes darting around the room. And then the sound of a brass door knocker slamming against an old oak door. I quickly scanned the vault, every wall, every corner, just bricks, no door, no oak. My eyes met with the other lonely man's. He had heard it too, and had scanned the vault like I did. Nothing, no explanation except one, a sound from a dark and distant past, a ghost and a memory. We gave each other a panicked look, which in an instantly conveyed an entire conversation. What was that? I don't know. There's no door. Bloody hell. Should we leave? Yep.
That's what smart people do after that.
Exactly.
Not me.
No,
I'd be
let's
like,
hang
let's
out.
go investigate.
Let's answer, quote unquote, the door.
Yeah, I would. I would totally Scooby-Doo that shit and be the first dumb blonde to end up dead. So.
Oh gosh. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty good one. I can't even imagine living in Europe because that's some old shit over there and their history is amazing. I mean, we, always like, wow, 1800s, 1700s, we're so old. And then you go to Europe and they're like, this house was created in 600. It's like, oh shit, like we have nothing on them. So no. I can't imagine the history, the energy, the past that still lingers in everywhere in Europe has got to be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's keep this train rolling. I mean, I'm going to read from Micro Throwaway 64. So, I had just turned 22 and my parents had sold their house and purchased a place out in the country. On the property, there was a big shed not far from the house that I decided to turn into my place. Now I felt kind of uncomfortable in the shed sometimes, but my dog kept me company, so it wasn't so bad. Anyway, I had been there for maybe 2 weeks, and one night I'm on the computer. My dog asleep at my feet, and I need to pee, so I get up and go outside to piss. It's a beautiful, clear night, and the stairs were in the stars were incredible. Next thing I hear, the shed door slams behind me. I turn immediately and try to open it, but it won't budge. Now from inside the shed, I can hear my dog start to growl, quietly at first and then louder. Now he's barking and I'm panicking trying to get the door open. I must mention that I'm 6'5" and well built. I play sports, etc. But even ramming my full weight into the door won't open it, and I'm really panicking now as my dog's barks turned into whines, then whimpering, then silence, and with all my might I slam into the door and it flies open. The light is off inside now and it's pitch black and it won't turn back on and I'm in complete darkness. Can't see my dog anywhere and I stumble around trying to find a torch. Finally, I find it and pick it up and turn on my torch, and I wasn't prepared for what I'd see next. My dog had literally squashed itself into the furthest, darkest corner of the room, eyes closed and is shaking violently. I immediately moved towards him, and as soon as I got within reach of him, he leapt at me and into my arms and wouldn't move. I picked him up, and I swear I've never ran so fast in my goddamn life. I never stepped foot in that shed ever again, and my dog wouldn't even go near that part of the property. I don't know what happened in that shed that night, but I'll never forget it. Yeah,
I gives me the chills. Damn.
Yeah, and also, we know that animals, they've got heightened senses of certain things, and but on one side of it, I wanted to know, and micro throwaway, if you can send us another email, is this a dog that you had, for a long time, or did you adopt it? Because I would say maybe if it was a rescue dog, maybe there was something that triggered some PTSD to that dog that might have been in that shed. But if not, if it's a dog that he's had since it was a puppy and it was freaking out, I would probably lean more towards the side of the dog saw something and got freaked out, and it would definitely freak me out as well. So that was a pretty good one. I mean, it's something that I could visually, I totally saw that whole scenario.
Me too.
But just, if a dog is tripping like that, I mean, do you have any other choice than to freak out?
Hell no.
No.
I'm very much okay with my dog deciding what's something that's probably very entirely evil and doesn't want to be around. I'm like, well, then just like people, like, damn, if my cat didn't bite somebody she'd never bit before and turned out to be a complete psycho. So I'm like, damn, I should have listened to my cat. So absolutely.
When I read that, could y'all track it? Because I'm buzzing pretty hard right now. So I don't even know how to fuck that.
Except for the stairs stars, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you did good. And here's what cracks me up about this whole story is what the fuck is it with dudes and pissing outside? Like, I'm sure the shed probably didn't have a toilet, but that's across the board. Dudes pee anywhere and everywhere. And I'm saying this out of a point of jealousy.
I'm going to start doing it.
Yeah. I'm like, and this is the greatest part is we are on the lake quite a bit on the boat, and Rick bought me it's called a Go Girl. And it is a girl penis that you can pee it with. So if you're in this, like in the woods and you don't want to squat,
when you're in need?
It's like a bladder with a little funnel thing that kind of like motions the pee away from your body. And damned if I don't feel just really powerful, just being able to just be like, I'm not going to squat. I'm going to stand here and pee, and I won't get pee all over me.
Or nothing.
That's right. And so when I say this about men pissing everywhere, it's out of jealousy. Really, it is. That must be amazing.
Like you always thought.
Amazing to deal with. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, we had this conversation before in some of the earlier episodes. I think it was about the poop that was in the window or something. Remember, what was it? It was
like that woman that pooped on a date and it got stuck. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, she was trying to throw it out or whatever. We had
I forgot about that.
Yeah, we had that conversation about, like women being all uncomfortable. And I think I made a comment about that. Well, that's why you have attitudes, because you're all backed up. You know what I mean? Trying not to shit.
Because we don't want to poop around men. Yeah.
I am so agreeing with you on that. Being full of crap all the time is exhausting. It makes you cranky.
But it also depends on the circumstance and where you're at. Because I can tell you right now, like in New Orleans, like during Mardi Gras, like if you can't get to a bathroom, because there's a routine with the crew of mayhem. Our crew.
You squat and you pee.
You just squat and everybody just kind of like builds a dome around you.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, like, I know that women will go there, but all women aren't organized or has a crew like us. So
no. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it was hysterical because on my 40th birthday, one of the crew was at my birthday, and we were in the parking lot of a bar we had just left, and she needed to pee, and she had a long skirt on. You know who I'm talking about, Yardley. She squat right down and peed, and my husband was like, "Oh, so you're peeing? Okay." So he kind of turns his back to her and lets her go. That's what we got to do. And I've done it before, but it's just so funny that he was very like, I'm going to guard you so nobody can see you, but he also wasn't prepared for it. So it was kind of a shock. Like, so she's like, I got to pee. And she just literally squat down in the parking lot. And he's like, well, so she's peeing. All right, I'm going to block her. And I'm so drunk. It was my 40th birthday. They are carrying me to the car, and I'm like, you go, girl. And then whenever he bought me the Go Girl, I was like, yeah, it's so just appropriate. I love it. So any girl out there that doesn't want to squat, go buy the Go Girl. I'll tell you what.
I'm just going to get a big dress. Do you remember Bridesmaids where Maya Rudolph, she gets the shits and she walks out into the middle of the street and she's wearing that giant dress like you said your friend was in a skirt?
And I'm shitting.
Like, it's happening. It's happening. It happened. I'm shitting in the street.
But you can't tell she has this beautiful wedding dress covering.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is you just need a big skirt or a big dress.
For it. Yeah, but then you got to get up and walk away and then you have shit all over you or pee. So I'd rather have the Go Girl, which controls the stream of my pee. And no, this is not a paid sponsorship.
Say, are they sponsoring this episode?
No, I feel that strongly about it. Because when you're at the lake and you've like docked your boat and there's woods everywhere, you don't want to put your butt close to the ground. It's just spiders and shit everywhere. So you can stand there and pee and not worry about a spider crawling up your butt. So it's great. Oh my God,
I live in the city and I don't even know, like, if I put my butt close to the ground, the only thing I'm going to get is asphalt burn. So
well, you keep talking about visiting. So once you come here, Yardley and I will show you the way so that you can understand the Georgian way of things properly. And how it's not that easy when you're not living in
Are you going to greet me off the plane with a sign and a Go Girl? Is that how this is going to work?
Welcome to Georgia. Here's your Go Girl.
Here's your fake dick.
I'm sorry. What is your name? Micro Man or Micro Throwaway? We did not mean to turn your... First of all, that story was amazing and gave me chills when Yardley read it. Because I read it to myself in my brain, but when Yardley read it, it like made it...
in my brain.
It made it alive. So it was a very creepy story, and I would freak the fuck out. So I don't mean to take away from that by talking about the peeing outside thing. But I do have this jealousy about it. That
it was
ain't
a
fair.
great story. It was a great story. Now
really
we got another contender though from SSJ. Yes, get on it, Moni.
FSJ Chris. I went back home for a friend's wedding. It was September of 2015. I live on the other side of the country and I'm friends with the bride, but had never met the groom. I don't smoke except sometimes when I'm drinking, and weddings are made for drinking. Amen. So I'm coming in from having a smoke. The wedding reception is on the second floor, and there's a staircase leading up to the second floor, as you would hope. A guy comes up to me before I ascend the stairs. He asks me what wedding I'm at, and I tell him. He hands me an envelope and asks me if I can give it to him. It simply says "One Love" on the front. I say yes and carry it up the stairs. I go to take a leak. Here we go again. And the bride's father's in the washroom. I hand him the envelope and proceed on with the night. Fast forward to March of 2016. I'm on my way to go skiing. Where I go skiing, there's no cell reception because it is in a mountain pass. So I always check my cell phone before I enter the pass to see if I have any messages. I check my phone and I have a message from the bride of the wedding. Do you remember what the guy looked like who gave you that envelope? I don't know. A guy. Why do you ask? I think it might have been the groom's best friend who died in a car crash. Oh, that's hard for me because our best man at our wedding died. But yes. It turns out that the envelope contained only money. The phrase "one love" was something the deceased's best friend would say often. it was something he was known for. There's a memorial Facebook page dedicated to the dead friend, so I log into the Facebook and check it out. The pictures of him before he died look like the guy that I spoke to, but he died in 2008.
That gives me the chills. And mainly it's an amazing story, but also because, and I don't mean to sound cruel, but I hoped that you would read this story because it's very fitting to what, not everything, but just that you were so close to your husband's best friend who passed, and that how amazing it was that this guy reached out from the dead to tell them congratulations. And that's pretty freaking awesome.
Well, and I always wonder if it's good when someone reaches out like that, from the other side. But on the other hand, I'm like, maybe it's better when they don't, just so, just this is what I have to tell myself because it's never happened to me and I've lost people. But, I wonder if it's better that they don't reach out because basically that means that they're at peace wherever they're at and not worried about the day-to-day struggles of our little lives, So I'm not really sure, but that's a really neat story.
I look at it this way. When you're dead, there's no space-time continuum. There's no at peace. Everybody's at peace. You're just an energy floating into where we go when we die, and you can come back anytime. And I don't think, and especially since he titled the envelope One Love, I think it was a message to his best friend that he did good. He married this person, and this guy clearly approved of it. And that's really all it was. I mean, this isn't a big effort from him. He's popping in and out whenever he pleases. I don't think everybody's stuck here. I think some people die and they move on, and then they'll come back here and there just to let you know that they're still here and they still love you. And then I think there are people that are stuck here. So, I mean, that's just my opinion.
I have never had the comeback happen, and I've always kind of wanted to and been frustrated that it hasn't. But I guess, that's why I try to tell myself it's for the best. But who knows? Maybe I have had the comeback and just haven't known.
I was just getting ready to say that. We don't always come back like...
before we wallow in sadness.
Yeah. This is from, how do I even say this? Fako. That's the name of the person that submitted this. This really freaks me out because you don't really think about it when you're on an airplane. And this was the first time I had ever heard of a story on an airplane or stories on an airplane. So this is pretty interesting. This person is in the aviation industry and didn't say what flight he is on, what airline he works for, but did tell some good stories. People occasionally die on the planes, and we transport bodies and the cargo fairly often. Once there was this crew who kept complaining that the spirit of an older Indian man and young African boy kept following her around the plane. She asked to sit in the flight deck for a few minutes because I guess the spirits wouldn't follow her into the cockpit. The other crew all thought she was crazy and were planning on reporting her to the manager until the captain looked at the cargo manifest and realized they were transporting two bodies, one of an older Indian man and one of a young African boy. And then the next story is from him. On ultra-long haul flights, our planes have a crew rest compartment for us to sleep. There's the story that once a crew woke up to find a passenger in there, which isn't allowed. She asked the woman to leave, and the woman asked for coffee with 2 creams and 1 sugar to be brought to her husband at 23C. The crew made the coffee and brought it to the husband, telling him, "Here's the coffee your wife told me to make." The man started crying and said, "That's impossible. My wife's body is in the cargo." He kept the coffee, though, because 2 creams and 1 sugar was exactly how he took it.
Ugh. That's a wonderfully sad and awful and neat story.
Yeah. What do you think, Yardley? Are you still there, or did you pass out?
I didn't hear a thud.
Yardley?
Are you there? Cut off.
Yardley. I show him here.
That's weird.
Yardley.
The ghosts have got him too. Everybody, we got to look for Yardley.
I think he passed out. It's been one of those fucking weeks, though. I am right there with him.
It's late
so
for
that
you
happened.
guys. Yeah.
Not really. It's 9:30, but it just has been one fucking hell of a week. So, are you there, Yardley? Text me.
We can wrap up though if he's not available.
Hello, Yardley.
Can we go one show without technical difficulties?
Well, in his defense, he passed out. It's not, in my defense, no, I'm not saying he passed out. I'm totally joking. Although, damn, wouldn't that be great if you could just pass the fuck out when you're tired and not have to deal with that. But anyway, all right, well, we'll wrap up the show. And I really enjoyed that last one because airplanes. Yeah. Oh, here he's texting us now. Mike messed up. Uh-oh. I show you're still on, though. Oh, trying to fix. Okay, we'll just keep talking. So really quick, let's see if he can get back on before it's time to end.
Sure. I really appreciate everyone who sent stories. This is a really great episode, I think, for that reason. Maybe not so much for us and our poop stories and our sexual poop stories, but more about the listener stories that I think were really awesome. So thank you everyone for sharing. And I hope that can continue, that you guys can keep sending your stories, because this was really fun to read, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I like listening to personal stories. So anytime you guys want to submit them, please do. And we would love it if you are listening and not following us on Twitter. I'm not really doing Instagram right now because literally all I was doing on Instagram is just posting the title of our show. I mean, there's no fucking point in that. So I quit doing it. And I didn't think it was doing any good.
You might be able to share some of the sergeant's, I almost said his name, God damn it. The sergeant's photos, handwritten stuff. Yeah. That's kind of cool.
I would like to put it on Twitter. I think we'd get more traction on Twitter. So if we could do that. Can you hear me?
Like Charlie's down with us closing out without him. So we'll go ahead and say next week I apparently got skipped. Wow, but that's fine. It's less pressure for me. Yardley says we're going to watch a movie and do a review on something called The Dark Song. And the synopsis is: grieving the death of her son, a woman hires an expert in the occult to help her contact her son. Boy, along the lines of things that will probably make me cry. Hopefully it's scary, though. But it has 91% with 30 reviews at Rotten Tomatoes. So that sounds good, but not overly hyped good. I look forward to watching that.
Yeah, by the way, Yardley, I know you can't answer, but Ghost Stories is playing at the Landmark Theater downtown, and I am totally going.
Nice.
So finally, because we wanted to watch that, but it wasn't in Atlanta, so we couldn't go to the movie theater. And I just saw a notification that it is. So I'm totally stoked. I'm totally going. Even if we don't do anything with it on the show, I'm still interested in going because it looks really cool. And I think the synopsis of that movie is basically there's these story. Ah, shit, I'm not going to even talk about it right now because I cannot. I don't have it in front of my face, and I'm going to sound like an idiot. So I'm just going to stop right there.
You can tell us about it next week after you've seen it.
Yes. And I just would like to ask you again, please follow us at creepin_it on Twitter, or you can actually search us on all social medias under the Creepin' It Real Show. And Moni, where can we find you?
I am, who the hell am I? Who am I? The existential question. Rebel Moni on Twitter, and I am Moni Bear, Bare, on Instagram, where I've seen a lot of new followers have been finding me. So I will go ahead and just check with Sergeant real quick and make sure I can post those illustrations, and then we'll start with my page and we'll move on to our Twitter and everything else for Creepin' It Real.
Sounds good. And then Yardley is at militant_marker. And it's okay, Yardley. He's apologizing. Shit happens. It's all good, buddy. Just enjoy your buzz and your evening and know that we have hit 10,000 downloads, motherfuckers.
Woohoo!
That's right. That's
support,
right.
Everybody. That's
exactly.
Awesome.
I'm excited about that. I don't know why it seemed like a cool landmark, but for me, I just thought it was pretty awesome. 32, well, this will be 32 episodes and 10,000 plus downloads isn't a bad ratio. So thank you guys for supporting us, even though we are, besides Yardley, clearly unprofessionally inept at podcasting. And
I can't even argue. No.
How could we? I mean, no. I mean, my last podcast I did, all we did was get drunk and ramble. So it's kind of hard for me to now turn into a serious podcaster, which we've seen through the episodes that is not going to happen. So But people are still listening.
An adult reference librarian has proven anything. I will never turn serious in any situation.
That's right. I haven't
no need for me to be any sort of serious professional in any category. I can be good at what I do and still have fun, damn it. And that includes our podcast.
Exactly. And I have to be uber professional in my day life now, so I'm even more fucking crazy now at night. So anyway, y'all. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you to my wonderful co-hosts for joining me on this trip. It's been fun, and we're going to keep going. We're going to get it to 100K now, y'all. Yeah. That's what I said.
Yes. Wow, that accent, though.
That's right. Georgia all the way. All right, everybody, creep it real.
Driving up and down like a rock and roll elevator. It's all on every floor.